The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Tuesday, the 14th day of January 2025. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. I'm Jamel Hartman. She's Mia Chambray, and Maya Palacio will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in the news break brought to you by People's. Happy 2025. This is my first time seeing you this entire year.
I know. Happy 2025 and happy 2025 TDH viewers and listeners. Hi. Yep. Can't believe it.
How was your holiday break?
Yeah, it was awesome. Thank you, Jamal. So obviously I was a ghost in December because for those of you who don't know, I own a retail shop in Hamilton, and it was very busy, which I'm so thankful for, of course, and work hard for. And so, yeah, we were really Santa's elves. So that was really amazing. And then as a family, myself, James, and Gunnar, we took a trip to New York for New Year's Eve, and we stayed there for the week. And we took Gunnar skateboarding in Brooklyn, and we just went and saw some sights and just had a real wholesome family trip. It was the best, the best.
I don't think I knew you went away. Like, you know what's crazy? You know what's no true story. I said to Larry like last week or something. I was like, I feel like I need to check on Sancha. I haven't heard from her because you never go missing, right? And then, legit hits me up the next morning. But no, she puts in the group. She's in the TDH group. She's like, "Hey guys, no, I'm in distant. I'm traveling." And I was like, "Oh, I forgot." Right? Like, she legit told me like beginning of December, but I'm not supposed to remember that. But you're so like you communicate so much that I'm like, did I even know she was in New York? But that sounds awesome. So Gunnar had a really good like holiday.
Yeah, Gunnar had the best holiday ever, except it was so funny because anyway, on Christmas Eve, James and Gunnar fell asleep, and James is in charge of Christmas. He's like he's like an awesome partner, but he's great. He does all the Christmasing, but he had taken care of all the presents. And so at 10:30 at night, they were both asleep, and I didn't know anything because I just appeared back on the scene. So I was doing like a scavenger hunt of presents around my own house on Christmas Eve. Like, where's everything? So anyway, it was cool. We had a really good Christmas and New Year's. Yeah, it was really fun.
Love to hear it. Honestly, awesome. Well, Mia, we've got David Michael Wilson, sorry. He says, terrific Tuesday all, and Happy New Year, Mia. And Suzanne Ingham says, awesome Tuesday, Hamel and Mia. Great to have you back, Mia. You know what? A friend of mine, former colleague I worked with in South Florida, she was Colombian, and her mom was a real estate agent. And one day, her mom took me to see a house, and she kept saying Hamel because, you know, in Spanish, J with H. And so she came to work and she said to me, you know, I was arguing with my mom how to pronounce your name. And I'm like, Mom, he doesn't speak Spanish. He's not from a Spanish-speaking country. So it's Jay. And when I see Suzanne, and I know the J and the K, the H is close to each other. When I see that, it makes me smile and it brings back that memory. So all love, Suzanne, all love. But audience, let's get into today's conversation. Sorry. Greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we discuss the power of your vote. Yes, again, last week, a general election was called for February 18th. From now until then, we'll be speaking about so many things around elections and voting. So many things. There's a lot to talk about. So we're going to be talking about that today. Do not forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow Beyond the Mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. So let's just put the question up really quickly. This morning, we're just going to be asking, what are your thoughts on the power of your vote in a general election? What are your thoughts on the power of your vote in a general election? But also, just either or, would you rather not vote or spoil your ballot? Like because Mia, there are so many people I know who are like, no, I'm just not going to the polls. I'm not wasting my gas and energy and time to go. And then there are people who say, no, but you want to be counted. You want them to know that, you're disinterested or not satisfied. So you make the effort to go. It's the age old argument, which one delivers the biggest message, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, I think I've always been taught from my, excuse me, Jamal. I've always been taught from my grandparents, especially my grandmother. She was a matriarch of our family, and she was one of the first female business owners in Hamilton. And I've always been taught that as a woman, especially, that you have to vote. You just have, you have to, like, you just have to. You have to vote because of history and how we were, oppressed from voting. And it's your duty as a woman to vote. So I've always stuck to that.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. And before we got back to the convo, Michelle White says, I was just wondering where Mia was. Glad to hear she was having family time. Yes, they folks deserve family time. But that's a valid point, Mia. And it's something, I know that Larry and I were part of a no vote campaign back in 2012. And, we would fight back when people would say, oh, your ancestors fought for your right to vote. And I think, the argument I used to give to people is they fought for our right to have the option to vote.
Okay.
I don't think they necessarily fought for us to have to choose between two bad people. And the example I would give people is if the only two people on the ballot are two Klan members, who do you expect me to vote for?
Oh, exactly.
You feel me? So while I appreciate that we have the option, I don't think it should be by force. And when I was in school in Alabama, I had a college president saying, I don't care how bad the candidates are, I'm going to the polls. And I'm like, but that makes no sense to me unless you're going to the polls to spoil your ballot. But then that's the argument. Would you rather not vote or spoil your ballot? Like, which one delivers the message? Now, let's use the 2020 election, Mia. Right. And I'll go over some numbers and then we can get into, there was a time when women couldn't vote. There was a time where you needed to own property to vote. There was a time when Black people couldn't vote. But from 2003, let me just share some numbers from 2003. Let me bring up my little whiteboard now. So, I should have bought the glasses in this morning. From 2003, looks like we had just under 30,000 votes. Cast 29,742, if I can read my own writing. And there was 39,000 registered voters.
Okay.
In 2007, it looks like 32,044 people voted. And there were 42,295 registered voters. In 2012, there were 30,861 votes out of 43,616 registered voters. In 2017, the highest number, there were 34,065 votes, and there were 46,669 registered voters. And then in 2020, which was the lowest of all, 25,760 votes. And this is interesting now. You had 46,000, I think that's 311 registered voters, but then they added another little something in here. Out of those, 44,986 were eligible voters. So I'm guessing I was among the registered but not eligible. Just saying. So when looking at this, and let's consider the 2012 election. The 2012 election, Ray Charlton lost by almost single digits up in Dockyard 36. Nundy, Outerbridge won by 4-6, something like that. In St. George's constituency 2, I think, between Kim Swan, Renee Ming, and her.
Mm-hmm.
There was some close contest.
Yes.
But it does tell you that the vote does, in fact, matter, especially in small town Bermuda, right?
Yeah, I agree. And there's actually a comment from a member in our audience, which is from Sahai Mank, which says, in places like Burmy, every vote actually counts. People who have won or lost by 7 votes.
Yeah. And I thank you for that, Mia, because I want to say, yeah, in a small town, every vote does count. Like in a big country like the US, maybe not.
Yes.
But in Bermuda, I mean, okay, my constituency, where constituency 16 is a runoff for the PLP. But if you look at the 2020 election,
mm-hmm.
the PLP won seats they had no business winning.
True.
Constituency 9 comes to mind, where Vance Campbell won that.
Yes.
I think it was 19, where Jache Adams is
mm-hmm.
another one. PLP had no business winning that.
Correct.
Again, question, audience, what are your thoughts on the power of your vote in a general election? And would you rather not vote or spoil your ballot? Let's see what the audience has to say. We've got Kathy Rogers says, I'd like to vote. Unfortunately, I'll be off island during election day. That's unfortunate.
Well, I've heard, Kathy, that actually you can go and register and vote a week before the actual election, that they're opening it up. So I did hear that on the radio, that you can go and vote up to a week before.
Yeah, Maya shared that yesterday, but my guess, Mia, is that she is not going to be on the island for that week prior either. And I think that's something that is part of a great conversation where, again, it brings up the convo yesterday, absentee voting, right? Like, if someone says they're going to be overseas, that doesn't mean they're going to be available the week before, right? Some people go away for longer periods. I just think it's very short-sighted and it's political. Let's go to Derek Hendrickson. He says, what are you voting for? We are forced to vote for a delegate assigned to your neighborhood, but the real problems you have with government aren't what the delegates are really responsible for. And I think that's where it gets interesting, because while we're told that we have to vote and the power of our vote is necessary, and in small towns, people win by as little as 4, 5, 6, 7 votes.
Mm-hmm.
What we have to consider is, what are our needs as a community?
Mm-hmm.
Mia, your family, you have a young son, right? You're voting for not just for yourself, but you're voting for Gunnar, right? And
That's
so if none of the candidates come to you and present you with what you believe is in the best interest of yourself and your young son, then are you supposed to just say, you know what? I'm going to choose this one because this one's less bad than the other. Like it's so much to consider, right?
It is. And you have to really sit and really, I think if you have the time and the opportunity to sit and really look at both the platforms of all of the parties now there's 4. So, and then see who you have running in your constituency, of course. But then I don't know. I do think that if you do get involved grassroots, then you do have an opportunity to speak with your constituent. And then they do, if they get voted in, have parliamentary leverage to then start to create some change. So whilst, yes, there is a bigger opportunity, obviously, the overall umbrella of the government, there's a lot of problems. But if you do, engage with your constituent and that constituent does happen to win, then you do have some more leverage to actually invoke grassroots change.
Indeed.
Just my thoughts.
Fair enough. Let's go back to the audience, see what they're saying. Michelle White, she's asking, what value does a spoiled ballot offer? That you showed up but don't care? We can't complain about the results if we don't show up to vote. But I don't necessarily agree with that.
I do.
But I'll tell you why I don't agree with it. if you pay taxes, you have a right to complain. I think someone just said it just now. What Derek Hendrickson's questions were is, we're not responsible for the candidate in the Westminster system. That's on the delegate. So we are giving candidates. We're not choosing the candidate.
True.
Right. So if you don't show up, to me, that's sending a message just as much as a spoiled ballot. Okay, here's the thing. Explain to me, someone really break it down to me. Break it down to me what taking your time and using your gas or bus fare or taxi fare, why is that sending a bigger message than not showing up? Help me understand that. Help me understand that.
So I think that you making the effort. So sometimes, Jamal, just in life, right? You don't want to do things like, for example, you don't want to get up and you don't want to go to work. Or you know, just there's certain things you think, oh man, I really don't want to go to that, or I really don't want to do that. But actually, afterwards, you get involved in it and you think, actually, and you see the output or you see the outcome and you think, actually, I'm really glad I was involved in that. I'm really glad I did that. For example, when we did Proud to be Bermudian, the song, you know, Mr. Woolrich, he really was on top of me for coming in. And I was moving to the UK at the time and I really was time poor. And I didn't have a lot of opportunity to actually go in the studio and record my part. And he really made sure that I was there. And now 20 plus years on, my son is now watching that in nursery school. And I was part of that and I'm his mom. And it made me so proud to be Bermudian. So if you don't show up and you don't vote, you can't be part of evoking change, the change that is so desperately needed in Bermuda. So if you weren't there, man, and you didn't vote, and the change didn't happen, you were not a part of
that. Okay. Fair point. Not sure I, still agree. Still haven't convinced me, but I think valid point. That's what Maya would say to me. You still ain't changed my mind. I get it though.
It's not about the short term, Jamal. It's about the quest. It's about the adventure. It's about the long-term vision. So had I known that recording Proud to be Bermudian when I was in my 20s, in my 40s, my son was then watching it at nursery school. And the ripple effect is huge and great and powerful and positive. So do you know your vote in this election in 20 years' time, what will be the ripple effect? You want to make sure that you were a player and you had a part to play in that.
I'll tell you what non-voting did get us. It got us supermajority PLP government in 2020. And we see the results of that. So that's a point that you can make there. But audience, what are your thoughts on the power of your vote in a general election? Like what power do you think that your vote has? And would you rather not vote or spoil your ballot? Well, I'm not going to pull Suzanne Ingham's up. Okay. It's too large to go on screen. Now go ahead. You can read it, Mia.
So Suzanne Ingham says, I wanted to spoil my vote years ago. PLP told me to do that. They also stated that to do that in our by-election. No, I didn't do that. If I did do that, what is the point of voting? We now have a choice of 4 people. Vote. Absolutely. It may be tough, but I vote. Once I know the candidates, I start eliminating as I hear and watch them. Spoiling a ballot is a waste of time, and in my opinion, an election should always be in the summer when our kids are at home.
We're going to be talking about that in subsequent episodes about the fixed term elections, but I appreciate what she's saying. I do. I appreciate what she's saying. And that's why I love this show, because the various opinions, some people believe in spoiling, some people believe in not voting, and some people believe in choosing what is before you. Shakara Richardson says, so many people have lost hope and faith. Pray for Bermuda. And then Kathy Rogers says, based on the stats that I shared earlier about the voting from 2003 through 2020, seems those stats, many people aren't voting. So Kathy, to your point earlier when she said she won't be on island for the election, she says, correct, she'll be off island the month of February, and she's registered to vote. That's unfortunate. And these are the kind of things that we are not considering. And that's why yesterday's conversation was a bit bigger than, absentee voting for students, but absentee voting, period. Because at the end of the day, there are people who travel from months at a time. People are allowed to do that, right? And their home base is Bermuda. Unfortunately, those people don't have the optional right. There are people who have worked hard to be able to take months-long vacations or months-long visiting family or taking care of a loved one overseas. You have not given them that right. So for me, I'm not even talking about myself, folks. Obviously, you all know I'm between Bermuda and the US, right? I thought that doing this, I'd be in Bermuda 4 times a year. I was in Bermuda all but 3 months last year, So I get it. It's something that my hope is that even though Kathy Rogers is not going to be in Bermuda, whoever the candidate is for her area, my hope is that she gets to express herself on behalf of her family, right, to those people so that they can understand the space they're in. Like, just yesterday, you have Minister, well, I don't know, he's not a minister at this point, but former Minister Jason Hayward, because, Parliament's been dissolved. He posted something about 50 points of why young people should vote PLP. And I'm just like, if we really wanted to take the time, we could dissect that and hand the PLP one that they will never forget. Like, and it goes back, someone said to me yesterday, it reminds me of what you always say, Jamal. I'm going to use Mia since she's here and Gunner. If Mia has to constantly tell Gunner what she does for him, she's a bad mother, in my opinion. Straight up.
It's true. I agree.
As a son, he's going to know what you're doing for him. He's going to appreciate what you're doing for him. He knows my mom is, bathing me, feeding me, sheltering me, working to provide for me.
Yeah.
He knows my mom doesn't have to tell me, Gunner, I fed you last night. I bathed tonight. When a government has to tell you what they're doing for you, they ain't doing nothing at all.
I agree. Amen to that, Jamal. Amen. Charles Jeffers II. Good morning, Charles. He said, I wish we had a real choice to make like C30. In my opinion, 2 good candidates who I think would serve the people well.
What's C30? Who's in C30? They have 2 good options? Yeah,
who is in C30, Charles? Let us know.
Yeah, who's the options there? Yeah, you can't just say that, Charles. We want to know who 2 good options are. Is that Misha Fabler and Dwayne Roberts? C30?
Oh, I hope that's not mine. It might be mine.
That would be hilarious.
I think it might be, actually.
No, but do we really remember the numbers of constituencies?
I don't.
Let's go back to the audience. David Michael Wilson says, a spoiled ballot only serves the purpose of indicating that you are fine with the status quo and would rather show up to be seen than show up to be counted. I appreciate that. I honestly appreciate that because it sounds status quo when people say it, if I'm honest. It does. But again, you see the results of not showing up. Michelle White says, no, we are not choosing our candidate, but it's a numbers game. 100 people in the constituency and one shows up. We're not going to complain about the choice of that one person. No. The conversation this morning is about the power of the vote. Let me ask the audience something. You know what happens if not enough people vote in Bermuda?
No, I don't actually.
What happens? Can anyone in the audience tell me? Because someone deep in the PLP actually said their hope is that not enough people vote so that this could happen. Does anyone know what happens if a certain number of votes are not cast? Can anyone share? And let's keep going through the comments. Let me hit Cherie Dill real quickly. She says, I assume spoiled ballot confirms your interest, but displeasure, concern, not voting could indicate lack of interest or impartiality. Go ahead, Mia.
Yeah, Suzanne Ingham says, Suzanne, you're on fire this morning. It's a bit of a long one, but she says, Mia, what you just shared about being proud to be Bermudian is exactly what Mr. Burt has just taken away from our university students. And I couldn't agree more with that. Thank you, Amos, for sharing. Vital input, in my opinion, Mia. There we go.
I think she meant thank you, Mia. But
I know, Amos. I'll go by Amos or Hamel.
I'm joking with you, Suzanne. Don't take it to heart. Says it's no better time for us to unite and demand change. We must go outside the box and do what's right. Absolutely. And Shakara Richardson goes on to say, so true, Jamal. Those who live it, feel it. Again, audience, I'm waiting on someone to tell us what happens if we don't get a certain amount of people to vote. What happens?
Does the UK step in? Is that what happens? Does the UK step in?
You got it.
Oh, wow.
For me, and that to me is why I'm telling people, if you don't feel like voting for a candidate, the bigger message to send in Bermuda would probably be not to vote. By the way, let me be very clear. Let me give a disclaimer. I am not telling anyone, let me be very clear in this. Today, tomorrow, or any day, I'm not telling you to vote. I'm not telling you not to vote. I'm not telling you to spoil your ballot. I'm not telling you who to vote for or who to vote against. Sure, my perspective is based on my position. So I want to make that clear. Do not take anything I'm saying as advice, because at the end of the day, I don't know what you believe is in your best interest. I cannot speak for Gunnar and Mia.
Correct.
We may share some similarities in what we think is best for Bermuda, but I am not here to give people political advice. I'm not in that position. I want to make that very clear with everyone.
True. And I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I think if you feel inspired to vote, please do. But I'm obviously not indicating one way or the other, because I don't, who feels it knows it.
Yeah. Suzanne Ingham says, Jamel, what does that mean? Parliament has been dissolved. Am I missing? Parliament being dissolved simply means that the legislature has been dissolved. There's no business that can take place. Ministers are no longer ministers. There's no sittings of the House. Yeah, that's pretty much what it means. There's no Parliament business, no legislation or policies can be passed at this time. That makes sense?
It makes complete sense.
Okay.
And it's something that I didn't think about in regards to dissolving. It's something I didn't even consider. Charles H. Jefferson II says, yes, Fubler and Robinson, which is where I live, by the way. So
constituency number 30, Mia, is 30. But that I agree with Charles. I do agree with him. I mean, those are two good candidates. They are. And I don't want to speak, but it's hard. And it's hard. Like, if you ask me, and I shouldn't say this, but I am, it would probably come down to me for that constituency of who am I truly voting for? So, two good candidates, I would then look at the political party.
Yeah, same.
So, and again, this is not advice, but if I'm looking at the PLP and OBA and I have these two candidates, it will take a lot in me to give David Brown another chance after what he's delivered the last.
What has he delivered?
8 years. But that's the thing. The last 8 years. So for me, Misha Fubler is probably he's a good candidate. I've said it over and over. But so is Dwayne Robinson. And so for me, it wouldn't be a flip the coin. It would be, okay, these are two great candidates. I can't decide. Now let me see what their party's platforms are. Let me see about their party leadership. Which party leader would I trust most? And again, you all can pick the bones out of that. Renee Sherilyn Simmons says, hey, she's back on Facebook. Haven't seen you on there in a while. She's been on YouTube for years. She says, I certainly thought of a spoiled ballot with 2 words, youth vote. As a personal protest, and I truly believe our youth have been disenfranchised. However, my vote is so much more important. I shall vote. Okay. All right. Charles H. Jefferson II, he says, I think the value of spoiling a ballot is that you are sending a message to the candidates that you care enough to show up, but not just vote to the lesser of 2 or more evils. But again, this PLP person who told me, if not enough people show up to the polls, the UK gets involved. That's the bigger message here.
Yeah.
That's a bigger message. In my opinion, it's a bigger message. Because it's telling me our political system is beyond broken. It tells me that the people of the country simply have no interest in supporting a system they don't believe is beneficial. I think that's the bigger message. I'm sorry. I think that the UK government would be the biggest, clearest sign that Bermudians have had enough. I think that has more value than spoiling your ballot and people who still become the government oh, who cares? We got a mandate. We got a mandate. Let's go through a few more comments. Then we bring Maya Palacio in. We are getting to time. Lavette Pemberton says, I'm not happy with Brett about youth. Have 7 away in school, but will vote PLP, my family. We will get it right next time. Well, that's unfortunate. To each their own. But, at the end of the day, I love my family.
Me too.
I love my family enough to know that I can't continue to do things that are not helping them. And one of the things that is so important in saying what I'm about to say is this is real life. This is legislation and policies that impact us. Mm-hmm. I can't look at life and continue to give another chance thinking that someone will get it right. That's how we end up in abusive relationships. And an abusive relationship is not helpful for children if they're there. And in this case, an abusive relationship is not helpful for the citizens of a country that's in the worst state it's ever been, whether it's the roads, education, healthcare. Unfortunately, I hope that you're very one of few, but I understand and respect your perspective. Derek Hendrickson says, why are the constituencies created based on regional lines? Why don't we get to vote on other lines that actually matter? Why would I choose a plumber to address my electrical issues? Well, Michelle White says UK steps in if it's insufficient voters go to the polls. Well, learn something new every day, pretty much.
What the threshold is, Jamal, for insufficient votes?
Yeah, it's a certain number. Charles is asking, what's this you speak of, Jamal? If not enough people show up, what happens? If I don't know the exact number, but if you don't reach a certain number, I asked you all to go research that. I ain't telling you. I asked you. Michelle White says, with a dissolved parliament means we have no government. It now makes sense the UK will step in. That's an important point. No, dissolved government. No. Okay. Dissolved parliament means that we're going to the polls. That doesn't mean the UK will step in. The UK will step in if we don't reach a certain threshold in terms of voting. Charles H.F. II says, actually, we have what's called a caretaker government right now. No legislation can be passed, but the ministers are still ministers. Yes, they have to give up their ministerial things, I think, the day before the election. Sorry. Okay. And I remember 2007, they all had to park their cars down cabinet. I was like, oh, look at them on feet. Some of them probably on the bus. But that's thank you, Charles, for that. And he says, Charles H. F. II says, I think that's a possibility is worth a show. I think I don't think many people know about that possibility, the possibility of the UK stepping in. Yes, Dorian asks, since Parliament has been dissolved, our ministers still drive. Yes, as I just said, right up until the day before the election, I think they would drive them in 2007. So yeah, Charles corrected it. It is a caretaker government, but again, no legislation or policies can be passed during that time. So thank you for that clarity. Folks, we've got to bring Maya Palacio, and you all have been awesome. And give yourselves a round of applause by giving us a like, whatever platform you're on, give us a like, a love, follow. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. This has been great, and I'm sure Maya has a lot for us coming up. Now let's take a commercial break prior. We're going to be back in about 2 minutes, 11 seconds with Maya Palacio and the Daily Hour News Break. Stick with us, folks.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
When it comes to footwear, we carry functional, comfortable, orthopedic and waterproof shoes. We have construction shoes, golf shoes, shoes for walking, shoes for boating. We even have shoes for pickleball. We have shoes for everyone. With brands by Skechers, Atrax, Propay, Easy Street, Nursemates, Clogs, Avenger, Cherokee, Cat, Frog Talk and DeWalt. The list goes on.
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
Unlock your business potential with BDC's General Microloan, offering up to $30,000 for Bermudian small and medium businesses. Whether it's for inventory, working capital, or equipment, we provide 100% guarantee on approved loans. Simple application, low interest rates, and fast processing. Apply today and make your business dream come true.
Bermuda Trivia, the Black History Edition, is now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Visit bermudatrivia.com or email contact@bermudatrivia.com to learn more.
All righty, welcome back to the big show. Mia Chambray, I'm Jamal Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. Please do not forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Again, audience, if you haven't already, do us one favor. It costs you nothing, just a little bit of time. Give us a like, love, follow, share, retweet, repost, whatever platform you're on. Make sure that your friends, your family, your colleagues have access to these community conversations. Before we bring Maya in, Mia, I just want to go over something because we're talking about the power of the vote. I think we need to understand that we didn't always have the opportunity to vote, right?
No, only men, bond holders, and women did not have the opportunity to vote until 1944. You know, my grandmother was born in 1946. So it was with Gladys Morrill, who, for those of you who are Somerset Somerset fans, you may know the Bromby family. So Gladys Morrill was the great grandmother of the Olympian, Peter Bromby, and also a really good friend of mine, Nicola Bromby, as well. So Gladys was in the UK. She got involved in the suffragette movement with Emily Pankhurst, which, for those of you who don't know, I lived in Manchester for 10 years, which is where the UK suffragette movement was created. So there's loads of different iconography about the suffragette movement, including a museum. So I know a lot about the suffragette movement, and so so she joined the suffragette movement, came back to Bermuda, 1914, started to get the wheels turning. Then World War I kicked up, so she went back to the UK, was a nurse, and did many other things to assist in the war efforts. Came back in 1918, started again with the suffragette movement. Emily Pankhurst herself actually came to Bermuda to discuss with the suffragettes. Time went on. It was still no budging from Parliament. The men were not having it at all. It was 30,000 people in Bermuda at that point. Only 1,300 men were allowed to vote. It was taken all the way to the UK. Yeah, it was taken all the way to the UK. And what was interesting, Jamal, is men were allowed to vote, and they were allowed to vote, actually. Just say you owned a property in Somerset and you owned a property in Paget, you were allowed to vote in Somerset and Paget.
Well, when you say men, are you talking about all men or just white men?
All men at the time.
Okay. Even if they didn't own property?
No, men who owned property only. So mostly white men.
Okay.
Yes. However, going into the early 1940s, the suffragettes, man, they were spicy. Okay. Every year that went by, they would take black wreaths and put them at the Somerset police station to signify another year of not being able to vote.
Wow. They
did so many different things. I could be on here for another half an hour doing a whole podcast on the Bermudian suffragette movement. However, it made me smile because I felt it very akin to what we're doing here with the TDH family. is that people from all different backgrounds, all different Bermudian experiences, yet we are all still Bermudian, and we're all using our platforms and our power in different ways to all support each other towards the same goal. So what Gladys Morel did in conjunction with other group of suffragettes, they actually aligned themselves with Sir Henry Tucker and another gentleman by the name of, and I'm just going to look one quick second, Sir Henry Tucker and Dr. Eustace Cann. So Dr. Eustace Cann was a Black Bermudian member of Parliament, and Sir Henry Tucker, obviously we've heard of him. Well, if you haven't heard of him, he's quite an infamous character in Bermudian history. And they believed that giving women the vote would advance the cause for Bermudians and in the general election. So they took that to Parliament, 2 men, and they fought for the women's suffragette movement. And in 1948, Hilda Aiken and Edna Watson were the very first women to be elected to Parliament. And in 1944, women were able to vote.
There you go, folks. There you have it. And I really asked the question on this show some years ago, and I think Gladys Morel was one of the only people didn't recognize as the Bermudian hero. So thank you for that, Mia. We've got to bring Maya in for the Daily Hour news break, folks. Do not go anywhere. If you appreciate it, that good information by Mia, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues.
Good morning. Good morning.
Greetings, MP. How are you?
Hi, Maya.
Feeling pretty educated this morning. Thank you, Mia.
Yeah. Emily Gail Dill says, thanks for sharing this history, Mia. Sadly, it was a while before Black women were included. Yeah.
That's very true. And she's not wrong with that. Actually, Gladys Morel was pulled onto the carpet about that, about how it was very white privileged Bermudian women for a while. And she very swiftly corrected her ways. And then once everybody came together as a collective group, very similar to the TDH family, change was made.
There you go. Oh, they appreciate the information. Mia, hey, folks, that's why I tell you share the conversation and information. MP, I'm sorry we took so long, but we forgot about you this morning, sister.
It's okay.
We can't do that. We can't do that.
There is a lot being said by like every party and independents right now. So we do have a little bit to go through in terms of people putting things out there for the public to know and understand where they're coming from on their platforms. But good morning, everyone. This is your Daily Hour news break brought to you by the great people at People's Pharmacy. Starting out your news this morning, we like to hit it hard going forward with just things that are quite serious on the island. So right now, the police are looking for witnesses for an alleged hit and run involving a car and a teen male student. So the inquiries are underway regarding this incident, which involved a car and a teen male that happened in Devonshire yesterday morning. Details are limited, but Bermuda police say that they were made aware of the incident hours after it actually occurred. It is believed that a car, understood to be driven by a woman, came into contact with the teen pedestrian, said to be a 13-year-old male, somewhere in Hermitage Road, Middle Road, Devonshire, just before or just after 8 a.m. on Monday. It appears that the student had gotten off a public bus in the area just prior to the alleged incident. Reportedly, the female driver did stop and check on the teen before continuing on. At last check, the 13-year-old's mother had taken him to the hospital for medical assessment. So far, there is no indication that the young man was seriously hurt. However, any witnesses who may have seen this happen can please call 211 or oswan@bps.bm.
Every now and then, Maya and Teo share a story that just seems so callous. That's not a murder. That seems to be one of them, if it happened as I am understanding it.
I think it also goes to show as well, just like the police said that they weren't told about this incident until hours later. Also goes to show just how many times people actually contact the police immediately after an incident does happen and those who do not. So the things that we're reporting here to you are things that are just because they have been reported to the police, when there are often so many other incidents that don't get reported for many reasons. Either sometimes people don't have insurance, don't want to get police involved, or someone just checks and thinks everything's good and continues on with the day. So a lot of the incidents that we don't see, that we don't have reported, or that are not in statistics, is because they're not being brought towards the police. So in other news, now we're going to head right into the politics of it all. So OBA's leader, Jarian Richardson. Oh, just to clarify as well, Jamal, you were talking earlier to the audience about the dissolving of legislature. Just for everyone to note, that happens all the time during a general election. So that's not like this wild new thing. But everything else Jamal said, yes. And also it happens every time during a general election. Yes.
That's not obvious. What did I say that didn't make that obvious? Parliament's been dissolved.
Making it clear that happens every general election and not just something that's happening in this one. It's every single one.
No, but I guess the point is, I didn't realize until I had to explain earlier that people didn't know that Parliament was dissolved. I didn't know that. So that's my ignorance in thinking everyone understood. But yeah, when the writ is dropped at Government House, Parliament is dissolved. My apologies for being too up in the clouds thinking that was, normal.
Yeah, I mean, again, just things that we aren't taught, because I feel like I didn't know this till the last 2020 general election that happens. So, and it was brought to my attention again recently from someone who works with students, they don't know what's going on. So I'm just like, okay, let's just try to go understanding everything as we go. All right, so back into politics this morning with news. Jarian Richardson's talking about how the independents might split the vote for them. Here we go.
Straightforward. With so much going wrong and so many people willing to help, we have more political choices. On the face of it, this is a good thing. The more voices and perspectives in politics, more scrutiny, and ultimately more accountability. However, this comes at a tremendous risk. I will be blunt. Multiple non-PLP candidates in any given constituency will ensure the Burt administration retains its grip on us. If we split the non-PLP vote amongst the OBA, other parties, and independents, we will guarantee the PLP another 4 years to break Bermuda's back.
Okay, so before I ask you your statements on that one, just coming up, this came from a Burn News article by Karen Hodgkin, who is running an independent in constituency 31, that's Southampton West Central. She said that, no, I do not agree. I believe that Bermuda is ready for a new direction. The OBA leader is underestimating the voter or afraid that the independents will take the OBA vote. Who says former PLP voters will not vote for an independent? The electorate desire to have options, not just a two-party political brawl of words back and forth. The independents offer a way forward without the political party baggage of both the PLP and the OBA.
MP Emily Gill recently won a by-election up in constituency 36. The PLP retained that seat, even though more people voted against them than for. I think I might go with Jarian Richardson on this one.
I'm in agreement with Jamal.
Recent history proves that point, and to be fair, the Honorable Mark Bean said it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is also why he was pushing for a coalition.
Correct.
All right, moving on now to more independent speaking. Sir John Swan has put his voice in this election and saying that it is very clear that the current political system is failing. Party politics is failing. Indeed, in the press conference where the premier announced the election, what did those in attendance chant in the end? PLP all the way, PLP. What about Bermuda, I asked. We can't bring the same answer to the same problems and expect a different answer. I asked Bermudians to ask themselves, are they better off than they were? Are they confident in the future? Do they believe the current system is going to solve the problems and bring Bermuda back on track? I am running because I believe the answer is no. And I believe I can't just hide in the outfield. I have to engage and try to help. So he's given his reasons as to why him at 89 years old is back into this political game and back into the general election.
I want to go back. Charles H. Jeffs II, he says, I think that's very arrogant of Mr. Richardson to believe that the OBA candidates are the best non-PLP candidates. Here's when we had Mr. Richardson on this show in early November, he was asked about this. And if I'm not mistaken, his response was something to the like of, we cannot just make those decisions because they have policies and procedures and the Constitution and the like. I'm not gonna say I necessarily agree with what Charles is saying here, but I actually understand his point and think that it'd be in the best interest of the One Bermuda Alliance and Mr. Richardson to show some humility based on the result of what happened in constituency 36. Meaning, if nothing else, maybe not the Bermuda public, but those who chose to vote on that day kind of told you that the OBA was not in their best interest as an opposition. So it's probably more on the OBA to want to work with others rather than thinking that the others should step aside and let the OBA do their thing. And I speak man to man, human to human, Bermudian to Bermudian.
Well, continuing on in all of our political news this morning, now we got the PLP that did have a press conference yesterday, and they had the women of their party, some of the candidates, come forward to express their opinions and tell us about the party, what the party has done, and also lay out why they believe that the Bermuda public, specifically women, should not be voting for the OBA. Here's one mention from Crystal Caesar.
Putting women's lives at risk by reducing screening from age 40 to age 50, or at least attempting to do so. We all know that prevention saves lives, early prevention saves lives. They reduce funding to education, scholarships, severely hampering a woman's ability to get an education should she choose to. This election is about a choice. The PLP cares about uplifting women because we know our success is Bermuda's success. The OBA, on the other hand, has shown us what neglect looks like. Let's continue to build a Bermuda where every woman has the chance to thrive. That is the fairer Bermuda we are fighting for.
So before I get you into talk about this on me, I just want to put out one more video that was actually shared by Tanae Farbit, because she answered the question that came from a reporter there that said, what would you say to women who want to vote for the OBA? And here was her response.
We put out a throne speech every year. This government has also put out a platform. If you look at our platform, you will see all of the progress that we have made. If you look at our throne speeches, you will see all of the progress that we have made. We are not just a government about talking. We are acting on what we said that we would deliver upon. And that is the difference. If you looked at the policies of the OBA, I'll leave it up to you to decide who actually acts on what they say they're going to do.
I was just going to say, as a Bermudian woman, I don't feel very uplifted by what's going on in Bermuda, personally. I look around and I see that everything is in the worst state it's ever been from my memory. Okay, that's all I have to say about that.
I'm a man, but can I say anything on this? I'm not.
Yes.
I don't want to keep repeating myself, but it's the example I gave earlier of parenting and telling people what you've done for them. And, this is not against any of the individuals. I don't know Miss Caesar. I think Lindsay Simmons has done an incredible job community-wise. I have nothing but love for Minister Tanae Farbit in terms of how she conducts herself doing the people's business. But I'm very concerned that they're doing the bidding for a government that, whereas you have to have a press conference to drive home what you've done for people. I give props where it's due. I hope that everyone on the Daily Hour team, I don't have to tell you how much I value you. I don't have to tell you what you've done for me in this space and what I've learned from each of you, and vice versa. I would hope that we're not in that space where we have to do that for each other. And if we do get to that space where I have to say, like Maya has to say, Jamal, I've done this, I've done that, or I have to say, Mia, well, I've done this or done that. When we get into that space, I think the relationship's pretty much over. I think the relationship's over. When you're in a marriage and you have to constantly remind your partner, well, I did the dishes, and they have to say, well, I did the laundry. I think the relationship's over. And so this is not against any of those women as individuals, but some of them are parents, I'm sure. They have families. They've had jobs. I think the key thing that's missing, and someone said it regarding the PLP's slogan, A Fairer Bermuda. This is what it should be. The biggest word in this election, if nothing else, Bermudians don't want a fairer Bermuda. Bermudians want a more accountable Bermuda. And I think when I watch them, I hear talk. And she said, the minister, this is not just about talk, but that's what we're getting.
Mm-hmm.
A government that has to talk to you and tell you isn't doing enough for you to feel what they've done. I'm done. I promise. I'm done with that one.
All right. So we now had word from the One Bermuda Alliance, the Progressive Labour Party, some of the independents. Let's head over to the FDM, the Free Democratic Movement, who has just put out a statement earlier this morning that came from Shalaya Codrington, who is the chairwoman and business group arm of the FDM. Now, she puts her words into this upcoming general election saying, quote, our culture, tradition, and unity have been tarnished by greed and division. Leaders who claim to represent us have abused our trust, leaving Bermudians struggling to make ends meet while parading shallow successes. This isn't leadership, it's manipulation. Leadership is a choice, and with it comes the responsibility to act in the people's best interests. Instead, we see carefully choreographed distractions like strategic election timing and infrastructure projects designed to secure power, not solve Bermudians' pressing issues. Recently, Progressive Minds, the PLP's youth wing, made a comment stating that the majority of their members are over 18 and on island, with only 5% overseas. This reveals a calculated focus on mobilizing a specific voting bloc rather than addressing Bermuda's broader challenges, end quote.
Yeah.
I want to address this as well. Sheldon Fox says, I disagree with the statement regarding children. Fair enough. You can. I'll tell you what, my mother, my father, my family never had to tell me what they did for me. Mm. My coaches, my mentors never had to tell me what they did for me. The young people I've mentored, whether it's YouthNet, Big Brothers in Rhode Island, the players I've coached at North Village Community Club, I never had to tell them what I've done for them. They appreciated it. To this day, they reach out. Mm. To each their own, I'll say to that. Mm-hmm. He says people need to be told if they don't feel they benefited once they've received something. They forget what it's like before the benefit. I don't think the majority of people do it. And again, from a relationship perspective, that's how we get into abusive, fruitless relationships.
Yeah.
You agree or not?
I agree.
All right. Turning over from politics, I want to continue on our story yesterday that we had about absentee voting. So other than the Bahamas, I also looked into the Cayman Islands to see what they do, if they have it, and what it's like. So here's the process for the Cayman Islands. They do have it, and they do have it, and they have voting polls. So one, they have the mail-in ballot, and they have where it's mobile. Now, students overseas can't do mobile, but they can do the mail-in ballots. And what happens when they do this, they have to complete a form, and that form needs to be emailed to a specific address. Here is what the form looks like for your reference there. So very simple, just adding, your name, declaring it where you are, and also having someone else if you are also, because I thought more and of those who are physically unable to also fill out forms, they have that option there too to show like who was there doing it for them as well to get it in. And then once that's actually completed, they will then get, like after the nomination day, they will then get a email from the returning officer that requested. They'll get the ballot paper sent to them at the address that they put on the application for them, and then they have to mail it in. So that is the process for Cayman Islands. I was looking at what the cost of these type of mail-in ballots would actually be. Couldn't get much from the Caribbean just yet, so I'll try to have more information tomorrow, but I got a lot from United States, and it being like in the billions of dollars for them to make something like this happen. But I'm assuming a much lower price in the Caribbean islands like the Cayman Islands and those others like Bahamas who do include mail-in ballots for their overseas students. Switching gears now, because we have talked about the petty requests and the price that will be implemented in Bermuda. Cayman Island did have that on their page as well, and I want to bring it to your attention as well. What they call it is the Freedom of Information, FOI, which is what a lot of other countries call it as well. But here in what the payment method is, you could take a read here, screenshot it for your own read later. But to break it down, it is free to send in an FOI unless you want to have it rushed. Now, it takes them, they say, 30 days to complete a full Freedom of Information. In Bermuda, it's about 6 weeks for them to respond. So roughly around the same days. But for them, it'll only cost about 50 Cayman dollars if you want to get that rushed. And that's a nice option to have, actually, which I don't believe Bermuda does. And it takes 10 days, but you have to have a valid reason as to why you need to get it rushed. Basically, for if it's like life and death type health matters for yourself, and so on and so forth. So that's what they have implemented there in the Cayman Islands for their Freedom of Information.
Thank you for that, Maya.
Yeah.
No problem. All right, and closing out today, guys, for your weather, it's looking like sunny breaks finally, but still a lot of chances of showers. So don't expect it to look as great and as good, or try to hop out there without an umbrella or jacket today. And we got a high of 68 degrees. So please stay warm.
All righty, 68 degrees. Mia, do you have any days of the year for us?
Yes, there was a couple, but the one that stuck out to me the most was the Dress Up Your Pet Day. It's kind of off-brand for politics, so maybe we'll lighten it up a little bit. Does anybody? I mean, a couple of my friends actually do dress up their animals, like their cats, and I don't really think animals enjoy it too much. Does anybody in the audience dress up their animals? Maybe Christmas just came and went. Did anybody dress them up as an elf? When you see them and they've got like the arms going, they look like they're running. You ever see that online? So hilarious. Does anybody
I call
dress
them names.
I will.
Call them names. But I know somebody who puts their dog in a 2-piece bathing suit.
I need to see pictures of that. I need to see pictures of that.
I mean, yeah, I'll send them to you. Yeah.
I'll go a step further, Mia. I actually I crochet sweaters for my friends' dogs.
Oh, that's so cute.
Like a lot of them out, in Canada and things like that. But yeah, I crochet sweaters for dogs.
Hey, well,
Or
I mean,
you all dress up your pets. Like, I mean, you can't dress fish, folks. No, not fish. Dog, cat. Anybody dress up the pets? I'm interested to know, because that, clothes. Maybe you could reach out to Maya to get yourself a little something made.
Stop the noise. But I have seen people they actually make hats and stuff like little hamsters and guinea pigs. I mean, I worked at Noah's Ark for a while, so some people come in with their pets and we get to see them the little rabbits in their hats or the little guinea pigs and the little fluey little. It's very cute.
Bella doesn't like her hats ones. Like she makes up
Takes more.
Yeah, she's a Yorkie. Everyone. She doesn't smile when you put a hat on her. And Michelle White says her Ruddy does it. She says, "Don't dress up my Ruddy, but put a Powerpuff Party hat on him for his birthday. He wasn't impressed."
It's hard when they're older. You gotta start it at a young age so they get used to it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. We'll see you soon, folks. Don't go anywhere. We're gonna take a break. We'll come back and wrap it up. We've got I have little dragon wings. What do you put it on, the dog or the cat?
So cute.
She says, "No dress up for puppy." Suzanne Ingham, I gave up on PJs at nights. They used to get a very warm blanket from the dryer for the night. Okay. There you go. A blanket. MP, we'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Gracias, folks. If you appreciate the conversation, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. We're going to take a final break. Come back after this break. We've got the Daily Play. I want to see who gets this answer. Daily Play is coming up. We'll be back in a minute, 40 seconds. Don't go anywhere.
Looking for the best care for your pets? Noah's Ark Feed and Supply has everything you need, from top quality foods to toys and supplies. We've got it all. Join our frequent buyer program and earn rewards every time you shop. Plus, we've been awarded the Clever Customer Initiative program for helping you save more. And don't forget, we open an hour early on Saturdays so you can get a head start on your pet care. Visit us today or shop online for easy pickup or delivery. Your pets will thank you.
Right. Who was the first woman to become not just the first female opposition leader in Bermuda, but throughout the entire British Commonwealth.
Dame Lewis Brown Evans.
Hey, buddy. Hun, who was the first woman to serve as opposition leader, not just in Bermuda, but throughout the entire British Commonwealth?
Dame Lewis Brown Evans.
Mason, what did you say?
Dame Lewis Brown Evans.
Dame Lois Brown Evans? Where do you find that?
Mommy playing Bermuda Trivia.
Mommy playing Bermuda Trivia. Oh, honey, I'm so proud of you. Good job.
It's true. Children are a reflection of their environment. Bermuda's favorite trivia game, fun with a purpose. To educate, to entertain, to inform, to inspire, to learn, and to enjoy. Bermuda Trivia. All volumes now available at various stores throughout Bermuda. Visit BermudaTrivia.com to learn more and follow Bermuda Trivia on your favorite social media platforms.
All right, welcome back. Thanks again to all of you for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. Honestly, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for Maya for another outstanding in-depth news break to pretty much make sure you all know what's going on in our community. Thanks again to the BAC group of companies, Medical House Lenders and Peoples, for ensuring that we can have these conversations with you on a regular basis. It is time for the Daily Play. Brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right, Mia, it's a remember when. Are you ready?
Okay, let's do it.
Here we go. Everyone knows that only one person has won a seat in Parliament as an independent candidate. So in what year did Stuart Hayward become the only independent candidate to win a seat in a Bermuda general election?
1989.
What was that?
1989.
She got it. She got it, folks.
Trivia, baby.
Give you a chance. No, it's not 92. It's not 93. It is 1989, as Mia said. Yes, 1989. Stuart Hayward was victorious.
Wow.
1989. He ousted, and it was not one man, one vote back then. It was two. So he ousted Clarence James of the ruling United Bermuda Party from what was considered a strong seat in Pembroke West. All right, historic that was. Well, let's wrap it up. Final thoughts on today's conversation, Mia. Final thoughts on the power of the vote.
Wow, there's so much to unpack, Jamal. We really did talk so much, and so insightful from the audience this morning. So thank you guys so much for your amazing participation. I stand by what I said in the beginning. I know we maybe don't agree, or we don't. I mean, not that we don't agree, but we don't necessarily align in our feelings about this. But I do think that it is important to vote, no matter who you vote for. I do think that you should get out to the polls. I think you should get involved in your community, get involved in your constituency. Know what your constituency number is. Mine is C30, and really.
That's hilarious.
Oh gosh, and really have a say in what is going on, not only today, but it's a vote for the future, and it's a vote for yourself. And as you say, Jamal, it's a vote for your family, and it could be ultimately a generational vote that starts with you.
Yeah.
So those are my feelings about the power of voting. And as I said, we did a very brief run through of the history of voting and for women, or how women did not have the power of the vote. And ultimately, after 34 years of intense fighting, women were able to access the vote. So from a point of feminism, for me personally, I feel that I am impassioned, and I'm so happy that I have the power to be able to vote. And I feel very privileged to be able to vote. And I thank all the predecessors and all the women and men that came before us collectively here in Bermuda to be able to empower that change.
Indeed. First off, it's audience. As long as you know who you have to choose from, that's all that matters. The constituency number. I mean, well, it looks like you did have a visitor. Someone knocked on your door on Saturday, Mia.
He did. Yes, I got your flyer. It's on my kitchen counter. I work on Saturdays though. Has 6 days a week.
That is funny that we don't know numbers, and it's true. Like if you said constituency 21, I'm like, where is that?
No.
I just guessed when Charles said it earlier because, respectfully to candidates in all areas, that's the one constituency where I think most people would say they're really two decent candidates. And whoever doesn't win, I really do hope they stay involved because their voice is needed, right? But it's almost like you wish each of them would have chosen a different constituency to stand in. But that said, my final thoughts are very simple. I don't have to say the disclaimer anymore. Look, none of you listen to me anyway, right? But I'm not here to tell people how to vote, how not to vote. My opinions are based on my own experience. And, I'm going to tell what I will tell you is, like I said to Mia earlier, she's got to do what's in the best interest for her husband, James, her son, Gunnar, her mother, her business, and herself, right? And the greater community. That may look different for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think all of us have one thing in common. We want better roads. We want a better manicured island, right? We want to see the cost of living reduced. We want to ensure that we have better healthcare. There are things that we align on that we want to see better. How do we get that? Does it come down to us staying in what some would describe as an abusive relationship?
Mm-hmm. No.
Does it come down to us ignoring the process altogether? Does it come down to us choosing the other side simply because we've seen what the current side can do? I honestly don't know. Mm-hmm. But what I will say is I do hope that people are making educated decisions on what they believe will make Bermuda better. And I continue to say this, it's going to be a broken record by February 18th. But what will make Bermuda better for their family, their friends, their community, and themselves. Mia, do you have any daily inspiration for us?
I do. It's from Ida B. Wells. So Ida B. Wells Barnett. She was a African-American investigative journalist, sociologist, educator, and early leader in the civil rights movement in the U.S. And one of my favorite quotes is, "The way to right wrongs is to turn the light of truth upon them."
Well, in politics. Well, I also want to say as well as we head out, the power of the vote.
Yes.
Our power doesn't just lie in the vote. And what I mean by that is I mentioned accountability earlier. What Bermudians are looking for, it seems like, not just a fair Bermuda, but a more accountable Bermuda. But that requires us to understand that while the vote has power, the true power is our ability to be seen, be heard, and be active after an election takes place. Yeah. Folks, it's that time. Don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. She's Mia Chambray. I'm Jamel Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are out. Peace.